Hey everybody, and welcome to Let's Look at Detective Grimoire, published by Armor Games, developed by SFB Games. You may know them if you've been an ardent supporter of the Let's Look At series. Maybe 4 or 5 months ago, they released this game on Steam called Haunt This House, Terror Town, I believe is the proper arrangement of those words. And it was a game in which you played a ghost and you tried to scare people out of, you know, a cruise party, or out of a museum, or out of a concert, etc., etc. And that game, I thought, had some really good ideas, but was not necessarily the favorite game of mine that I have played this year. Detective Grimoire is a little bit more of a traditional kind of game. It's a detective-based point-and-click adventure game, so you could think of it almost similar to the Sherlock Holmes games that come out from the studio that's named currently escapes me, published by Focus, or another example would be like The Raven, which came out last year in a number of episodic kinds, and there's a little bit of a mixture of puzzles and kind of conversation point-and-click adventure stuff and deduction, so it's almost got a bit of a Professor Layton thing, and they definitely wear that on their sleeve. Comes out on Steam this week. It's gonna be $7, according to what their Humble widget says on the current page for the website. You should, if you want to pick it up on Humble, you know, the developers get a bigger cut if you're interested and you like what you see. Just so you know, I do put the Steam links, though, because everybody uses Steam as kind of like a curator. Like, they want all their games in one kind of wrapper, if that makes sense, and I understand that as well. We're going to create a new save file here. I'm not 55% of the way through the game. I think, at least. I'm 55% of the way through the first case. I hope. I'm not exactly sure how long this is, but I've played for about an hour so far, and I haven't quite even solved one case yet. I think I'm definitely closing in on it, but anyway, we're going to start here in the beginning. So yes, sound is important. You'll need sound to properly experience the game. There's a lot of voice acting, quite a good musical score as well. I know it was nominated a couple of years ago for some kind of original soundtrack award, and it's been nominated for a couple of IGF awards as well, or one IGF award for excellence in narrative this year, and then there was a Casual Connect award or something that it was nominated for as well. I'm not sure if it was for narrative or something like that, but anyway, yeah, there's a really cinematic kind of feel going on for this, and the fact that it was nominated for a Casual Connect award, if you're familiar with the industry, should also tell you that this is available on Android and iOS as well. I think it's $5, and, you know, it does have a little bit of a mobile-type quality to it. There's a lot of, like, you know, tactile puzzles, a lot of tapping and stuff like that, but it doesn't really bother me or even register in my brain in a game like this because, you know, you're just clicking anyway. It's a point-and-click adventure. If there's any genre that translates perfectly, I think, or very well between mobile platforms and the PC itself, point-and-click adventures are definitely it. So, there is going to be a lot of talking here, and I'm going to be talking over a lot of the dialogue, but I'll give you a little bit of time here just to get a feel for how the voice acting actually is.
Get your facts straight for once. We're talking about a creature that's lived in this swamp for over 60 years.
Okay, so it's a 60-year-old alien. I still don't see what matters.
If it matters to anyone, it's you. That creature is our prime suspect.
So this is one of those kind of awkward Let's Look Ats where I want to be talking all the time, which means I'm going to be skipping over a lot of this dialogue, which means I hope you can read really quickly, but if not, then I will just be doing basically a synopsis. A lot of it is flavor text. This is a game where, you know, if you're the kind of person that wants to speed through something as quickly as possible, you're going to be missing out on a lot of the charm, because it's just going to be like, okay, here's your puzzle. There's your puzzle, which is fine. There's nothing, you know, inherently wrong with that. That's how I play a lot of the time. But I'm cognizant of the fact that it's kind of taking me out of the experience and stuff like that. And the cinematic feel of the game, the kind of movie or episodic TV quality to it is a little bit compromised if you play like that. So there's a number of different interfaces you're going to see when we play. There's a number of different things you're going to see on screen. This is our police file, so this gives us the basics of the case. This is not procedurally generated, by the way. This is scripted and not necessarily linear, but it's scripted. No need to get into further detail than that. So, Richard Remington, founder of tourist attraction Boggy's Bog, was found dead outside his office at 20:45 last night. Exact cause of death unknown. 3 small wounds to the chest suggest an attack from a clawed creature. Slime around the wound and footprints at the scene suggest the culprit was Boggy, the legendary swamp creature. Any of the 7 other people present in the swamp last night could hold vital information. There's a little bit of a Scooby-Doo type vibe going on as well in the narrative, and I mean that in a complimentary way, even though it might not sound like it. So there's some pictures of the wounds and the footsteps, and there's our picture of the suspect. Very silly. I have a feeling that maybe not all is as it seems. On the subject of voice acting, just ignore this, I'm just gonna click through it. On the subject of the voice acting, although I actually like the game quite a lot, one of the things I would say is that I think the voice acting is sometimes a little bit uneven. I find that some of the ancillary characters have pretty good voice acting. The main character, I don't want to insult the voice actor, but sometimes it kind of wavers a little bit for me, and I don't necessarily think it's all his fault. I think sometimes his voice, we're going to start here, is just a little bit too low in the mix, so it kind of blends in with the music. Oh, kind of blends in with the music, which can be a little bit frustrating, because like one person will be like, I'm going to tell you about what happens here at Boggy's Bog, and then the main character's like, what happens here at Boggy's Bog? It's like, it's not that they sound uninterested necessarily, they're just way low in the mix, so you have to strain to hear them. Animation quality in the art is really good, and that's one of the things I really liked about Haunt This House Terror Town as well, is that I thought the art style was really nice, and one of the strengths of that game, and it's one of the strengths of this game, and in a weird way, it's almost a little bit more synergistic with a game like this, because it's more cinematic as opposed to, I don't know, interactive, if that makes sense. Not that this isn't interactive. So, let's talk about what we got going on. I'll admit, right off the bat, a lot of the stuff on the left, I don't totally understand. I think 0 out of 7 represents the number of challenges we've completed. Challenges are like skill-based, sort of skill-based at least, dialogue trees that we can unlock with our suspects. 4%, 2%, 0%. I believe this references how we fill out our journal, how we fill out our notepad, the number of suspects and kind of clues and stuff we get like that. Speaking of suspects, on the right side, this is our suspect list. So right now we only have, well, I mean, we have Richard Remington, who's dead. He's the murder victim, and we have a little bit of information on him. And then we have Boggy, the fictional question mark swamp creature. We don't have very much information on him at all. Now, the game is kind of divided into 2 phases that you can switch between as you choose. One is the observation phase, which we're in right now. One is the walking phase, which we can do by clicking on this button. So this is a point-and-click adventure. You get a single screen, and you basically paint the screen with your cursor to find clues. There's no, like, item combination or anything like that. There are some puzzles, but they're puzzles I kind of prefer. Instead of, like, combining, you know, a hockey stick and a butterfly net to catch a dragon out of midair or something like that, it's more like, put these gears on this mechanism to be able to open this door. You'll see it. They're pretty rudimentary, but they're a nice little change of pace from just constantly painting the screen. Point-and-click adventures are not my favorite genre, but this game, it does enough to set itself apart and make itself interesting, even for someone like me who's a relative neophyte with the genre, I think. So, let's just look around and we'll get some clues here.
That's where I need to go. I can switch to walk mode with the button in the bottom right.
So there is a little bit of tutorialization here, so I'll probably just move forward a little bit. Now we should get a map on this next screen as well. Yes, hello?
Wow, you didn't get lost?
No. Who are you?
Of course, you're not great at remembering.
I think I don't want to necessarily do this, but I think I'm just going to talk the entire time because that's kind of my style. And if you want to hear more of the voice acting, well then I encourage you to check out the trailer or something like that for yourself. It's always awkward when there's these dialogue-based games, but anyway. We do have dialogue trees. Sometimes there are correct answers, but I think on this one we can basically just do whatever we want. So I've never seen you before. Saw your hat blow through here already. You must be slow if it wouldn't even wait for you. That's not fair. Like if you lose your hat, it's going to fly away probably faster than you can run after it. Alright, so you'll get lost. I would never forgive myself if I let you go through without the map. You have a map of this swamp. Not anymore. I'm giving it to you. You should really stay here. It's dangerous. There's been a murder. Although I suppose you know all about it already. This guy's V-neck is really creeping me out a little bit here. It's a little bit deeper than I'd be comfortable with a working professional in this line of work, at least. Okay. All right. So we got our map here. Now the map basically shows us all of the areas that we can go to and how to get in between them. So there's a lot of areas. Some of them are going to be more important than others, but we'll probably play like the first chapter here and not much more than that. We're not going to actually solve a case here, but that should give you a feel for the kind of variety of the game, which is one of the major strengths. So, first things first, it says let's head to the west of the let's head to the west of the Boggy's Bog so we can get to the crime scene. So we're going to walk up here and we're going to get an example of one of the early puzzles in the game. So this is a very, very simple one. What we have to do is just unlock this gate. So the way we do that is just by sliding these kind of mechanisms down and around here. It's a very, very easy one. There we go. Oh, we have to maybe get the other one out too. Oh, it's too heavy. What are you doing to me here? It's done. We solved it. Oh, maybe if we pull the other one out, it'll do it. Yeah, this is how I did it last time. This is a game where if you're watching and maybe you have, I don't know, like...
Hey,
Nope,
nice.
there you go. 9 or 10-year-old kids at home. This is totally, like, both difficulty-wise and, like, tonally, this is something that would be perfect for them. Which is not to say that it's not for, you know, people who are adults as well. Just ignore this for a second. That's not to say it's not for adults as well, but it's definitely something that's appropriate for children as well. It's got kind of like that, you know, it's good, but it's also child-friendly, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. So this is another thing that we can do in the game, and it's a little bit Sherlock Holmesy in that we kind of have to create our own clues sometimes. So we have like 8 different objects up here: the little girl, the tourist attraction, the murder, the swamp, my beard, our boat, my hat, Officer James. And we have to create a relationship between 2 of them to kind of kickstart the detective process here. So I think the swamp, and let's scroll through these here, isn't warm enough, is far too remote for, is too stupid for, is way too big for, or isn't warm enough for. What if we did like, my beard, actually let's try this. Officer James is too stupid for, wait, that little girl is too stupid for the murder to make any money.
That little girl is too stupid for the murder to make any money. What is that supposed to mean?
So if you come up with something that's totally wrong, he tells you. But we'll, this one's relatively simple. We're in a swamp, but the guy's been expressing some disbelief, like, why is this a tourist attraction? So we could say, you know, the swamp is far too remote for Boggy's Bog, the tourist attraction, to make any money.
The swamp is far too remote for the tourist attraction to make any money. It's really bugging me. What's the story behind this place?
Yeah, so we get a little bit of a clue, and you can see that, you know, our overall progression and our progression with respect to the notepad and the clues and the suspects is getting a little bit more advanced here. Actually, I'm just going to open this up here, and honestly, I think I'm going to turn the volume down just a little bit. I think it might be overpowering me slightly. And again, it's distracting to talk over the voice acting. But I also don't want to do a 45-minute video where I just let the characters talk and then I try to get a word in edgewise. So, we can examine. There are clues that normally appear. They have like a sparkliness around them basically that kind of indicates where you should click. So, let's do it.
There's a hollow part of the tree right at the front, but it's too dark to see inside.
So that gives us a little bit of a clue. We don't necessarily know how that fits into the case, but it'll all come together eventually, I'm sure. One of the things I would like to say, I think the backgrounds are beautiful, but because they're kind of hand-drawn or hand-painted, it can sometimes be hard to tell what's a clue. Oh, excuse me? There are eyes in there. It can kind of be hard to see what's a clue and what's just kind of the environment. And this is a problem in other adventure games in the opposite way, where sometimes if you have something like, I'm trying to think of a good example, like Hector Badge of Carnage, it was kind of like, there were almost like outlines around the stuff that you should click on, which seemed dissonant with the backgrounds. But in this, the backgrounds are kind of like, it's like I don't necessarily always know what to click on. If I turned hints off, it would just be like looking at a picture, which I guess would be cool for some people, but I like having the hints there. It's just a little unusual. So we're gonna head down to the west here. In video games, west is always to the left. And let's look on the ground. There's a clue here, some flowers. There's a tent up here, which we cannot even walk to. Okay, they wouldn't even let me look at it for some reason, but that's all right. We'll move on and we'll meet some suspects soon. And when we meet some suspects, we'll be able to go through some dialogue, which will make up probably like the other quarter of the game, like a quarter kind of rudimentary puzzles, a quarter voice acting, a quarter talking to suspects, and a quarter doing that like deduction stuff. Alright, so we're getting some more clues. One of the curtains is ripped and hanging on the outside. There's this chalk outline of his body. This gives us a little bit more information if we want it. We can also look at our map if we want to, but that's not necessary. Eventually, our journal will get more and more full, and we'll have more options for dialogue with people as well, which is why, basically, the way that the structure of the game works is you talk to people, like, once, and you get a little bit of an idea of who they are, and then you come back with clues later, and you say, like, wait a minute, your story doesn't make sense anymore now that you have this, and they go, I didn't do it, and then you know, eventually start to piece together who among these bumbling idiots actually did complete the murder.
maybe if I...
Alright, so we don't have a key with which to access the door. There's bizarre footprints with 3 toes leading up to the office door and back down into those reeds by the water. I think that means we're pretty much going to leave because we can't get into the door yet, but hey, we're going to meet some people.
So let's get...
Alright, so let's talk to this gentleman right here. He's got a great hairstyle.
That's a little...
Alright. I'll let them talk for a minute.
No, I'm sorry. Did I say that bit out loud?
Maybe not. Maybe I can hear your thoughts.
I just noticed that that other guy, the baldish man, is not wearing a shirt. He just has the greatest chest hair of all time. Not to mention, I mean, clearly the longest head of all time as well, but Jesus, that chest hair. You know, and I'm speaking from experience, you know, I could put Austin Powers to shame. That is remarkable. Anyway, he asked if Grimoire is our first name. I'm going to say it's my second name, Detective is my first name, and we can ask him some stuff and start to piece some stuff together. So, let's ask him about last night. He says, I was at the cafe getting something to eat. Richard Remington was there too. How interesting, the murder victim? That's right, I saw him. He left the cafe looking rather ill. Maybe he wasn't murdered. Maybe he got a case of the Black Plague. You know, the Black Plague, bubonic plague, still has known cases every single year. How crazy is that? They're treatable as long as you get to it early. But yeah, a few dozen people every year still get diagnosed with bubonic plague. Crazy. Wash your hands if you can. Alright, so this guy is a cameraman, and he is working for the gentleman in the background, Vincent Vanderpeer. Standing on top of that rock in the background like he's, you know, Christopher Columbus. So he's worked for him for many years. They're colleagues. He's tried to film here before, but he never got permission until about a week ago. How suspicious that Mr. Remington maybe wouldn't let him. If you're looking for a reason to write down your notebook, I'm sure he can tell you if you ask him. I'm just the guy who carries around the camera. Alright. So we learned something about him. We can present some clues to him and maybe get something figured out, but we actually don't have any clues yet. We'll figure some out as we go along. We could also ask him if we wanted to about Mr. Remington. You should ask someone else. So they'll just tell us right away if they don't know anything about him. Try showing it to somebody different. So he knows nothing about Boggy either.
There's a narrow path.
Thought we already looked at that, but I think we're done with this guy now. Yeah, I thought maybe we'd have another clue now that we clicked on that thing, but no such luck. That's fine. So we got a little bit of a profile on this guy. Let's talk to Vincent Vanderpeer. This guy has some of the best, like, idle animations I've ever seen. When he, like, draws a picture with his fingers and then it covers his face. It's really good. You'll see it in just a second here.
What a question.
I'm really digging the outfits in this game. The costumes, there you go. The costume design is great. There's that, like, a V-neck with a detective trench coat over top. This guy's wearing some straight-up, like, 16th century mercantile garb, complete with a ruff. Sure, so we're just gonna keep up our line of questioning here. Alright, so we're gonna get some deduction. What's going on here? Let's look at the, I like to look at the sentence connectors first to get a clue, because, you know, my eyebrows have always had permission from a ghost. There's the Haunt This House Terror Town reference there. My eyebrows have always had permission from a ghost to leave the swamp forever.
My eyebrows has always had permission from a ghost to leave the swamp forever. I'm losing my mind here.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. I like this guy's William Shatner impression, actually. That sounded like a Prince lyric or something. Okay, so Vincent Vanderpeer only recently got permission from Richard Remington to leave the swamp forever. To murder the victim. Yo, please kill me, Vincent Vanderpeer. To dress up as Boggy. Or to film here in the swamp.
Vincent Vanderpeer only recently got permission from Richard Remington to film here in the swamp. I wonder if Mr.
Alright, so this gives us a challenge. So the challenges are kind of like, I think I mentioned earlier, but they're a little bit of like skill-based deduction, if that makes sense. Skill-based conversation trees where there are right and wrong answers. So we're going to ask him a little bit about this. So I heard this isn't the first time you've tried to film here. Where? In the swamp? What are you talking about? Remington, we know Remington has denied him filming permission in the past because the other person told us that. Remington has denied you the filming permission in the past. I guess this has a little bit of a Phoenix Wright thing going on too. I should mention that because all the comments are. I can't get over the fact that his chest hair makes him look like he's got like an apple core for a sternum. Why am I fixating on the chest hair here? I don't know. It's a problem. Nothing but the natural progress of being in a profession like mine. Every situation simply requires the right approach before the gears start turning smoothly. You understand, I'm sure. Why did Remington not want you filming here, and why did he change his mind? It wasn't even up to him. This area is protected, you know? There are certain rules, certain regulations. I encounter this kind of thing all the time, really. That doesn't explain why he changed his tune. It's a little suspicious. Why would you say that? Now, remember, I'm not trying to say that the puzzles in the game are the most difficult in human history. All I'm trying to say is that they provide a nice little variety in approach. So we could try to see, or try to imagine how Vincent Vanderpeer got Richard Remington to actually, you know, go through with this here. Maybe he gave him some flowers.
That can't be it.
That can't be it. Maybe he gave him, maybe he killed him with a sword.
That can't be it.
I think that could be it, but I don't think Vincent Vanderpeer is the kind of guy to murder somebody just to get the proper filming location. I think it's more likely to be a budget deal.
Right. That's the one.
All right.
I think you bribed Remington
to get filming rights. Well, bribe is a strong word. It was just a little arrangement between friends. Nothing worth getting upset about. I simply promised him a cut of my next movie's profits. It made sense since he owned the area anyway. Just a favor for a favor. Alright, so we've completed that challenge. We can ask him some stuff. I'm going to skip through the dialogue pretty quickly. Normally you do get clues from the dialogue. On this one, what we are learning is that Bobby's story, the cameraman's story, is not necessarily all that it seems. Now, we also have some sounds that he recorded last night, and we can listen to them, and I'm not sure if you can hear them. Let's see. Seems like you can hear them fairly well. I like that he said, probably just the sounds of animals, like you doing their mating calls in the night. Like this one. Yeah, I know the classic, like, frog mating. Gross. Alright, cool. So we have sounds here. Maybe we can do something with those later, talk to somebody. I actually don't know. And we'll ask, we want to exhaust all the dialogue trees with the people because this is how you get your case files updated on all the suspects. It'll give you clues, and these clues allow you to talk to people about other people. Oh, is there something I should ask the cameraman? So we know that Vincent Vanderpeer told me that Bobby Burrell was nowhere to be found last night.
Vincent Vanderpeer told me that Bobby Burrell was nowhere to be found last night. Simple enough.
Yeah, so that gives us our challenge. Basically, when you catch someone in a lie, or, well, when you find something suspicious about somebody, that gives you this challenge. And as you complete these challenges, which, remember, are broadcast over here on the left side of the screen, as you complete these challenges, you're able to get a little bit more information and come closer and closer to actually reaching your verdict. I don't think we're going to finish the first chapter over the course of this video, but we'll definitely do another challenge, and we'll try to do another puzzle as well. Alright, so we're catching him in a lie here, and you can see what happened. So, he said he didn't have his camera. What are we going to say? You lost it in the swamp and went to look for it? Pretty unlikely for such a professional to do that. It was broken and being repaired at that point? Possible, but we know that Vanderpeer recorded some stuff last night, so let's use that one.
That's right.
That's right, he was looking after the camera, so I went for a late night stroll. This place is beautiful in the evenings. You just walked around? You didn't do anything, didn't see anyone? Well, I can't say that. I have various ways to pass the time, you know. That sounds scary. Yes, he's right. I do have a hobby. I brought 2 cameras with me when I came here. I left my video camera, yes. But I have another one. It's much smaller, and it only takes black and white photographs. You know the kind I mean. A really old one. Alright, so he's into traditional photography. But he does have a photograph of the swamp last night. So all we have to do is kind of, you know, brush the developing fluid over it, and we can see, oh no! It is straight up the worst costume for a swamp creature ever.
Is that Boggy? The swamp?
Alright, I mean, it is not Boggy, but anyway. Let's do a little bit more exploration here, but before we do, I want to mention how I feel about Detective Grimoire, because I'm not getting a whole lot of time to talk about my overall impressions, but I think I did a decent job of summing them up kind of near the start of the video. I think this game, especially at its price point, is pretty good if you're a fan of point-and-click adventure games like, dare I say, The Walking Dead or The Wolf Among Us? Among Us. What am I trying to do? Sound even more hoity-toity. it lacks that kind of like morality stuff and, you know, the divergence in your choices. It's much more linear than that and much more, you know, rigid in its kind of like success conditions. But it's kind of a nice like light noir type thing going on that I think is pretty good. It's like a casual detective story, and I think narratively it does it pretty well. The writing is pretty solid, even if I'm not always in love with the voice acting. And gameplay wise, you know, I've never found myself getting super frustrated. Might as well make a move on here. I've never found myself getting super frustrated by anything that I've encountered so far. Like, there's never been a puzzle where I'm like, oh, I just can't solve this. It's always been like, you know, well, this is pretty easy, but I'd rather it be easy and let me get back to the detective work, and I can just treat it as a nice break, as opposed to it being super difficult. But, yeah, I think this is the kind of game that's not for everybody. If you hate point-and-click adventure games, and you don't like the idea of painting the screen looking for clues, it's going to be a little cumbersome for you to play. Might still be worthwhile. But if you're the kind of person who can get down with point-and-click adventure games, and you dig this kind of like almost Double Fine-y self-awareness type thing that's going on here, while still being totally friendly for younger audiences, then you might find yourself liking this. Actually, I like this a lot more than Haunt This House Terror Town. I think Haunt This House Terror Town, novel idea, wasn't thrilled with the execution. This, a little bit more traditional, but the execution's a lot better as well.
This side of the museum is surrounded by...
Alright, so we got some information about flowers and stuff like that. Is this supported by wood beams? I think I've seen this like 100 times if I click on it. Somewhere here. Yeah, there we go. Is it being held up on wooden supports? It's bizarre. How bizarre, how bizarre. So we got one more puzzle here, and we'll just rotate these out of the way so that we can open our door. Like so. There's the self-referential Professor Layton stuff that I was talking about earlier. And we do have a little bit more stuff going on in here, but I think I might stop the video here. I think I've done a decent job of explaining what the heck is going on in Detective Grimoire, and if you want to solve the rest of the mystery, you can for yourself. The plot thickens as time goes on. We've only met 4 out of the possible 9 suspects. You know, we have so many clues and stuff that are not yet uncovered. But I guess I want to keep it that way to avoid spoiling anything. This place in particular is a very rich environment for clues and stuff like that. But if you want to pick it up, it's $7 on Steam. Should be out at the time this video comes out. I would encourage you to do so with the caveats I've mentioned earlier. I think it's good and interesting. Not for everybody, but that's okay too. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, click the like button. It helps out a great deal. And subscribe if you want to see more in the future. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.